So now we move to the last team, which is team one. And after that, we'll have a lot of time. I think we are doing good time-wise. Thank you for maintaining the time. Team one, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to everyone. Saqib and I will be talking on behalf of Team 1. So our initial problem statement was how can we promote behavioral change by enlisting community leaders. So what we did in the first week was we discussed which behaviors we are seeking to change and from whom, what positive behaviors we wanted to increase and what negative behaviors we wanted to decrease. The topics that we included in our conversation were whether we wanted to take a top-down or a bottom-up approach, who are these leaders and influencers, and which set of leaders will have a greater impact and how we can engage them. And how to tackle this challenge that there are some voices and experiences that are either dismissed or those who remain unacknowledged. Some directions we considered were how can we enlist decision makers to enact more laws and policies addressing violence against women and address the justice gap between law and implementation. However, we chose to go away with this. But an interesting idea that stuck with all of us was how can we connect and enlist the positive deviants already existing in our community who have managed to create a change? A direction that was important to us in this challenge was that instead of focusing on which category of leader to put our attention on, we considered choosing a particular problem which all leaders can act on to prevent violence against women. In the second week of our challenge, we started talking about how violence has impacted the members of our team themselves. And we suddenly felt the need that we have to talk about the issues that we face as educated young middle class women. Our individual experiences have shaped our solution, and we felt the need to tackle cyber violence is crucial. We wanted to make cyberspace safe for all its users, as there is no age distinction in the online space. Few of the reasons why we chose to work with cyber violence is because it's an emerging type of violence, and online violence is committed in a continuum between online and offline space, and it is often trivialized by urban women and people living in the urban area. So how did we ideate on this? We had a quick innovation jam where we came up with 26 ideas around core categories of education, platform, alliance, and punishment. And with a consensus, we voted to work on a gamified education solution as a way to promote behavior change in community leaders and influencers to reduce violence against women and girls. All our solutions are supported by the success of the school-based intervention in Kenya by UN Women, the positive impact of behavior change created by Meena cartoons in Bangladesh and several other South Asian countries by UNICEF, and several other reports, as you can see on the slide. And also by the user interviews of different categories of leaders, such as educators, lawyers, and game developers that was conducted by our team members. And now coming to our final solution, Saqib will take it from here.
Thank you, Tanushree. And so who are the leaders that we targeted? Well, we decided that our leaders are boys and girls between the age of 11 and 13. Now, you might think that this is quite a young age, but we looked at the UN Women data on how children developed across their different ages. And we looked at these kids, and they are at a time of their life where they're starting to recognize the difference between the sexes. They're starting to build up their attitudes and behaviors. And one thing was that they're already in the cyberspace. Age, as Tanushree said, age doesn't matter as much. Many of them are already influencers and leaders, also in the offline world, amongst their peers, amongst their parents. As anybody who has quit smoking will know that children often push them. So they have a great influence. So we decided to create a tool for them, and we called it Kids Lead. And what does this tool do? Well, going from the top, you can see that it's a game on an app. It's an app on a website or something. It's launched, introduced by teachers in a classroom, and the children can play on it to learn different types of behavior. Here you can see that they're seeing in the top that there's a girl who's a surfer. So it breaks down the roles as well, that girls can be different things. It can be aspirational for girls. Boys can also realize that roles are not predetermined. And they play with it. We thought that we would have to incentivize it, give them rewards within the game as well, stickers, certificates, etc. These things can carry on offline in the schools as well. And we would also collect the data, and rewards are given to participants. And these children would affect their parents and their peers as well, because we find that they have great influence on their peers. So what is this app? Let's just go through it very quickly. Here's one scenario. And you have at the top left, you have Farid, and he comes up to Anna, and he asks her out. Do you want to go out with me? And Anna says, I have a boyfriend. So now what should Farid do? He has two options. He can be mean or he can cry. And we want to show in this scenario that it's okay to cry. And if he chooses that option, he gets a reward and he succeeds. And if he's mean, then he suffers some consequences in the game, the character. And we want to develop different scenarios to encourage different positive behaviors and negate or diminish negative behaviors. And it's very important to target this particular group because oftentimes in the Asia Pacific region, these children are witness to violence in their homes and their communities, but there are no resources for them. These are things that are not discussed in the home, and the teachers themselves will often not talk about it as well. So this is a resource getting to the children at this age so that we can prevent violence. As we learned that most instances of violence against women and girls go unreported. So we felt that we really had to tackle the problem at the source. So what are the different behaviors? I just mentioned gender versus sex, challenging gender roles. You can read them on the right. Also, we thought it's very important to include resources for help. And the data from these games would be collected in the schools and would also be used. So we have these very young leaders, people we're calling leaders that normally we would not be calling leaders. Will they be able to do it themselves? Definitely not. We will need to involve the teachers, and we've looked into them. What drives them? What do they think like? How do they behave? We looked at the tech leaders, how to get them involved in this process, and we looked at the parents, because when you're dealing with kids that age, you have an issue of consent, and we have to know all of this because there's also a cultural factor. The content has to be appropriate, age appropriate, and culturally appropriate to the countries.
2 minutes.
But beyond these leaders that we talk about, the teachers, tech leaders, and parents, we also thought that there's an ecosystem of champions. And this is UN Women that can talk to the governments, to the ministries of education, to the ICT ministries. They can interact, they can mobilize the Model United Nations clubs and in schools and universities. All of these groups, different groups, the police, lawyers, NGOs, CSOs, they can help get this game going at a time when digital devices are reaching the hands of children everywhere, because we are at a moment where the pandemic has made it a necessity. So we decided a digital solution has its place, has a natural home in cyberspace. So we have all of these people, and it's important to have these people for a different reason, that it's often important to get feedback. We have to get feedback from these kids. And how do we design a better product? We talk to all these people, and they can tell us whether the children are playing it, whether they're using it, whether they're liking it, and most importantly, whether there is any visible change in real-world attitudes. Our premise is
I can hear you. I can hear the background. I wasn't sure if you were still here or not.
Good. If you're a good person, then you will be a good person, whether online or offline. Our team was me and Brian, Melise, Azmal, Tanushri, Aoife, Aditi, Samira, Nuha, Harsh, Tina, and Huang. And we're from a bunch of countries, and we're very well helped by our facilitators, and we really enjoyed this process and are glad to be able to share our experience with you. Thank you very much.
Let's give them a big round of applause. I think it's very brilliant, nicely presented. So Melissa, for your comments, please, and I will chime in a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Team One. I have to say, first and foremost, what I really like about what you did was that you were unafraid to take a different tack on what does a leader mean. And I love that you took that you took children as leaders and recognizing that children do influence each other. You know, your brief was related to community leaders and influencers, and so you kind of stuck with young kids as influencers. So I thought that was brilliant, and I appreciated your willingness to do that. And I also appreciated that you took on an issue which is not an easy one. It's a big, gnarly issue, cyber violence, and it is very much becoming more and more a problem. We are, being challenged by this, increasingly day to day. And so I appreciate that you also, you took on a very significant challenge. And the solution that the solutions that you put forward, I think, seem like they're fitting to your audience. I think that, you're not just connecting them to an app that they might find or use at home. You're connecting them to an app that has, that would have application in the school setting, and then could also be used at home and could be also used with parents. And so I appreciate that it could then develop a broader reach. And so, for those reasons, and you're also connecting it with positive reinforcement, thinking through options for behaviors. I think that's really super important to acknowledge choice, and to also kind of, I guess the app would give you the ability to formulate not just a yes or no option or an A or B option, but maybe there's 10 choices, maybe there's 20 choices of behaviors that could be taken in response to a certain situation. So I think that's really nice. And then this ecosystems of champions, true, that they're out there and we want to be reliant on each other. We want to be supportive of each other to build better solutions. So I think that overall you had a very nice presentation, and I loved a lot of the angles on your ideas and the way you connected them to the core issue and really kind of creating a sense of behavior change and to affect behavior change with young people. So not an easy challenge, but you took it on, and I appreciate your innovative ideas to present these solutions. So thank you so much. Congratulations, and congratulations on all your hard work. Thanks.
Thank you, Melissa. So I thought, it was very brilliant in the age of technology, and where, the kids get hands-on into their iPhones or the smartphones at the age of, even 7 or 8, when they start getting used to playing games. It's an easy attraction. So you took the charge there to make them as the leaders of impact. And the change makers are certainly the younger people, and you took the right age group in my mind, and championing them to making them behave, in a manner which we want them to attack the cyberbullying and cyber violence. So that was brilliant. And also I like the storyboard of, bringing things together in terms of, both punishment as well as the rewards. That was a good idea. And finally, connecting them through the ecosystem. You stitched it very well, connecting them with the various policing agencies or lawyers or cities, and also the parent leaders, the seniors force. I thought was very, very well done. You actually took a much broader subject, like Melissa mentioned, and brought things together in a very beautiful story. So that was the success story of your team. So congratulations.